What's up, YouTube? It is a hot day, but I started growing me some little bonsais out here. This one, all the leaves just fell off. Some of the ones that didn't fall off, I just helped them move along and just got them off. It's still got a lot of flex in the branches, so I know it's not dead. I'm hoping I can get some little bit more health. But actually I got some little if y'all can see that right there, I got some grass sprouting up. I planted some little grass seeds and it's sprouting up, so that's good. I got some life in the grass area. This one actually is, this one and this one right here are my two favorites. This one for a while was my favorite, and it still is. I mean, unfortunately, I have neighbors that have kids, and the neighbors don't discipline their kids and don't teach them right from wrong and don't teach them, hey, you can't go on other people's property and mess with their stuff. I had to put these on top of the roof. I've been taking them down every now and then because obviously they're still at that age and not enough growth on them where if you leave them up high in the sun for too long, they're going to dry out and die. So I've been taking them down, but I've been trying to leave them up there as much as possible without hurting them, because if I just leave them down, I really need to get a new place. But they actually all got a bunch of life growing. Get it to, there's a little grass blade right there. There was a couple more in here. A tiny one right there. It's kind of blurred. There's a few over here. These are just, I got one big yucca tree and these little buds out of it all the time. So that's what those are, but those will actually, leaving them in the soil, I think will do it some good. Use life as like fertilizer. You use them, the dried little buds, as like stuff to help the soil thrive. Is what I'm hoping that will do. But yeah, I got some growth in all of them. I got more in this pot, a lot more growth in this pot. There's a piece of grass growing right there, right there, right there and there. There's two right there. I seen a lot more grass growing right there. I planted some, instead of using moss, because the moss seems to always, the moss doesn't ever do good for me, so I just got me some regular grass seeds and planted them. I'm not sure what type of trees these are. I actually dug all these trees up myself. There's one that I just now started. A little pine tree. These ones are actually the ones I had the longest. Surprisingly, with all the kids messing with them and stuff like that. These two I had for about 3 months. Those ones I only had for like a month to a week. But these two I had for about a few months now, and they're actually ones doing best, surprisingly, even with all these kids here. They're still thriving, got plenty of good green leaves. This one actually has a lot of growth in it. There's some birds. I just love nature. Look at that bird. Sometimes, if I'm good, I get so close I actually touched an owl that landed out here one night. It just climbed higher in the tree. But yeah, I actually touched an owl that was out here one night. It had slammed against my window, and me being the type of person I am, I'm very, around this neighborhood, I'm very cautious. So I take and grab my katana to protect me if I needed it. My two guitars. There's my katana right there. So when the owl came over that night, I'm very cautious in this neighborhood, especially at night when everybody should be asleep. So if I hear stuff, I grab that, I come out here and start. I don't ever unsheath it normally, because normally there's nobody out here. Only time I would unsheath it is if I'm actually needing to protect myself, which so far has not happened, which is good. But I heard the bang, so I come out here with it one night. The owl is just sitting, okay, right there where that pot is. The pot was not there at the time. The owl's sitting right there. So I walk out here. To me being so close and the owl's still not moving, I'm thinking it's her, especially after hearing that loud bang. So I reached down and touched it like that. My middle finger was the only thing that touched it, because obviously that's the longest out of all my fingers. So my middle finger touched one of the feathers, and it just flapped its wings, flew off, and then went over there to that basketball goal. So I take and come outside, grab my phone, take a picture of it. Unfortunately, by the time I got back out here, it was gone. I mean, it wasn't gone, but it was gone before I got a chance to take a picture of it. I mean, it was just sitting right there, and nature is just so beautiful. I love nature, man. That's one thing I love about my yard. It's like peaceful. I don't like the neighborhood itself, but look at that. Look at that. The chair had knocked down, but just look at this. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So I just like to sit out here in this. Whoa, what just happened? That chair is normally strong. That I should have looked at it. It did have a crack in it. The kids out here messing and stuff. That's why it was knocked over. The kids. I love kids, but these parents need to teach their kids a little bit more respect for other people's stuff. Just look at that. So anyways, it's this grass out here, the same type that's growing in my yard, that's growing in those pots. I'm going to keep it real short, like give it a realistic look. I mowed my yard. I ended up cutting around all those big dandelions and stuff like that. I ended up leaving a circle around that tree. Reason being, I'm actually going to let this grow real tall, like real tall, about the size of that. Unfortunately, one of my neighbors came out here one day and started cutting it himself. I didn't ask him to, but he started cutting it himself, so a lot of this is still short. But I'm going to let it all grow about that length around this tree and have some nice peaceful spot. Lay down in, come out here at night, relax, look up at the stars, be during the daytime, be underneath the shade of the tree. I actually love this tree. Look at this. This is beautiful. I am a tree hugger. I have to say, I love nature. I mean, I don't actually hug trees, but I'm a big fan of nature, and I love nature. And I definitely would not want to see this tree go anywhere. This is a beautiful tree. Just to feel that warmth coming off of it. Got some life growing right there. So that's going to come out as another branch. Just let it grow naturally, man. I wonder how old this tree is. I wonder what type of tree it is. It's got a bunch of different, it's weird, it's got a bunch of different leaves growing on it. It's got some leaves like that, those small leaves. It's got some of those big leaves. Then it's got some leaves similar to those big leaves, but like in a smaller circular shape. Like, it's got leaves like this, but then it's also got leaves like, I can't reach it, but hopefully y'all can get a good view of it. There's some big leaves right there that are like big oval leaves. It's weird how many different types of leaves it's got on it. And this is one tree, and there's no other trees in this entire park, but it's got a bunch of different, so I know those aren't fallen branches from other trees. Yeah, those are all on the same branch right there. But yeah, it's got different types of leaves. That's interesting. I wonder if it's like a hybrid tree. And it's got some of these little buds right here. I plucked one off. And these buds are what fall into my YouTube video.
YouTube video?
Yep. But yeah, those buds are what fall into those pots right there. That was one of the kids that come over here a lot and mess with my stuff. I tell him not to come over here, but he still does. And the weird thing about it, these little branches right here, these little things growing have the same type of leaves that that tree does. But I don't think these are trees. But this tree has those same type of leaves right there. But then it also has a bunch of these different type of leaves. I wonder if it's like a hybrid tree. You just got, whenever the seeds started growing into a tree, eventually other plants' roots joined into its roots. And then, like, it is possible for a tree's roots join in with another tree's roots, and then them forming together as one tree, and it be like mutating. That does happen a lot. There are ways to breed plants, but there's sometimes where they just naturally join together and mutate. There's sometimes in nature when that happens. Two different types of trees start growing so close together, eventually their barks form together when they start growing. Kind of like the same way when a tree starts growing near a fence, and then eventually the fence is growing in the middle of the tree. And when I was younger, I used to look at it and be like, how did this happen? Like, I actually seen trees, like a fence in the middle of a tree. I wish I knew how to switch my camera around. I had to exit one video just to do this video. Because I couldn't figure out how to flip my camera for y'all to see that. This is one of the books I'm reading. Madness Chasing the Gods of Asgard. The Sword of Summer, first book. I actually started reading the second book before I read this book. So, yeah, I'm going to have to start reading this book and then finish the second book now that I finally was able to find the first book. I had bought the second book at the time. Whenever I got the money to buy the first book and the second book, I had the money to buy both of them. But the first book goes out of stock. So I go back later on. Books, I see the book in store again, so I go back later on when I finally get the money to get the first book again. Book's out of stock again the next day. Then I go back, books there, but I still can't afford it, so I go back later on. books out of stock. The second book is always in stock, but the first book, it's very rare to find it in stock whenever I have the money. Like, I go back, like, they go out of, the first book goes out of stock like that. It's like people are trying not to let me get the first book. So I had to just start reading the second book, and the second book is awesome. I love Rick Riordan. He's my favorite author ever. He writes, if y'all ever read the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books, or even seen Percy Jackson Lightning Thief or Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters movies, he is the dude that writes those books and the reasons why those movies exist. I would love to see them make a movie out of this. He also writes the Apollo Tales, which I have one of the books to that. That's a 3-book series. He also writes the Kane Chronicles, also a 3-book series. This is a 3-book series. He has a few 7-book series and a few 5-book series. He writes Heroes of Olympus. A lot of his books have to do with mythology. But anyways, this is a crazy book. So this one is where they first introduced the Sword of Summer, which they call Jack. Jack is a magical sword that can actually talk and sing, and he has a Spanish type of accent, like he's Spanish or whatever, and he sings songs from Selena Gomez and Katy Perry, and everybody just sees him as this annoying pest. But they have to bring him out of his pendant form. He goes into a pendant form. Whenever he's not in pendant form, that's when he's in his talking sword form. So they had to bring him out of his pendant form for him to help them. They have to. And then, not only that, but there's another problem. When they bring him out of his pendant form, if he goes back into his pendant form, the person that uses him, his name's Magnus Chase, obviously name of the book, Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. Whenever they go bring him back into his pendant form, Magnus Chase, he's the one that has control over his sword. If he goes back into his pendant form, Magnus will pass out, and when he wakes up, he will feel everything that happened to the sword. Like, he would basically feel somebody, okay, whenever he's holding Jack by the handle, he basically feels somebody grabbing his ankle. If he uses Jack to fight with, he'll feel like he's been having a bunch of swords tossed at him. Like, he will feel all the pain or all the little touches that Jack's felt while he was in his sword form if he goes back into pendant form. Not only that, but before he goes into pendant form, he will pass out for a couple hours. So before he starts feeling that. So basically, obviously, they have to bring him into a sword form eventually. But once they do, they gotta be careful when they bring him back into his pendant form. They can't bring him back right away because obviously they're like on a trial, on an adventure, and in the midst of danger and stuff like that. So, they pretty much have to deal with Jack's annoyance. He's a sword, but he's crazy. Like, he's annoying. They pretty much have to put up with it. Like, they constantly repeat in the book. I so want to tell him go back into his pendant form, but I can't. They like constantly talk about that. Just like, oh, I have a huge migraine. Please leave, Jack. Wait, no, stay. I'm sorry. It's a crazy book. And Odin, he uses his, I mean, not Odin, Thor, he uses his hammer to watch Netflix. Like, his hammer has some sort of data on it where he has unlimited Netflix and stuff like that. And his hammer kind of also talks. Then there's this one, I'm getting tired. There's this Nugnog sword, which is like this evil sword that whenever it cannot be unsheathed in the presence of a female. And whenever it is unsheathed, it cannot go back into its sheath until it draws blood. Like, but the weird thing about it is if it cuts you slightly, that wound will never heal. You have to have this Sophanok stone to heal your wound. And they don't have it. So their door friend, they had to put him in sunlight so that way he turns into stone until they could get the stone to heal him. So that's kind of crazy. I'm starting to get tired. So if you get even a tiny cut from the sword, it will bleed forever, and you would eventually die from it unless you have the stone with you, which is why they're such a matching pair, because obviously you're sharpening the sword and then you accidentally prick yourself. You're going to need to have that stone on you, or else you're going to die. So they're having to find it in the book. But that's just the second book. I haven't even started reading this one yet. I just now got this book. But nature is beautiful. I love it. I wish I knew how to flip the screen while it was on video. I had to flip it that way so y'all could see what I was talking about with nature and stuff like that, and see all my my bonsais that I'm growing. I'm going to be doing a lot of updates on those bonsais every couple of months. I'll show y'all new growth in them and stuff like that. Show y'all whenever I have to trim them down and train them. I mean, this isn't a bonsai channel, but this channel is pretty much all type of channel. It's mainly meant to be a greaser channel, but I ain't got much greaser stuff to talk about lately. I can't think of any videos to talk about. I can do pomade reviews whenever I'm able to. But I mean, I pretty much done talked to y'all about my opinion on how greasers should dress, how to style a pompadour, greaser shoes, my top favorite rockabilly artists and songs. So really, I can't really think of anything else to talk about on that subject other than pomade reviews. If there's stuff y'all want me to talk about, just leave it in the comments. I will definitely do it. But yeah, I want to get me one of those. If y'all look right there, I got my PlayStation 2 sitting up right there. The reason why I have two TVs, one TV will not hook up to cable. Like, it doesn't have the little screw thing to plug in cable, but it has the red, yellow, and white cords. Actually, it has two red, yellow, and white cords on the back, and one red, yellow, and white cord hook up on the front, where I can hook in a PlayStation 3 on the back, change it to the number 2, what's it called, component 2, and then component 1, and then there's actually another set of red, yellow, and white cords where I can change it to another station. I still haven't figured out what station that needs to be yet. I think there's a way you program component 3 on here. But it does not have a place to hook in cable, like screw in the cord for the cable. But this one on the bottom, it does have the cable cord, but it will not hook into a game system. It does not have the red, yellow, and white cords at all. So I have to have one on the top for one thing and one on the bottom for the other thing. Which is kind of cool, because then there's times I can actually, it does have a place in the back where you can actually, both of these TVs have this, you can actually hook in a headset, like one of those headsets for like PlayStations or TVs and stuff like that, and you can hear it through the headset instead. So one person can be playing the game, the other person can be watching TV, and nobody would be bothered. Which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much why I have it set up like that. And then I got my PlayStation 2 right there. I want to get me a disc buffer. One of those, it's like a thing, looks like a oval, a kind of circular thing with like a flat end on the back. It opens up, you put the disc inside of it, you close it, then you turn this little thing on the side and it buffs out your disc and gets all the scratches out. I want to get me one of those because I want to play my Mortal Kombat Armageddon game. I have all 4 of the Mortal Kombats for PlayStation 2. Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Mortal Kombat Deception, and Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. So that's pretty cool. Then I have my that's the cover to Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer right there. And then that's my little totem thingy. It has the frog, the I guess that's a ray. It has a giraffe, has a turtle, a cat, a fish, and then the bottom it has a turkey. Then that's my painting. Then I have on that wall, I have my Apollo's Tales book cover. I have it's a chainsaw that my Papa Melvin, before he passed, he ended up painting. It was a saw blade, a jigsaw